King Vaelor inherited the throne of Edrath at the height of its power. The empire stretched across countless lands, its cities rich with gold, knowledge, and influence. Yet the night he placed the ancient crown upon his head, something changed. Witnesses spoke of a terrible silence that swept through the royal palace. The celebration ended abruptly as blue flames appeared in every torch and candle. Servants claimed they heard whispers coming from empty hallways. Guards reported seeing shadowy figures standing behind the king, only for them to disappear when approached. Vaelor himself seemed distant, often staring into darkness as if listening to voices no one else could hear. While the people celebrated their new ruler, an ancient evil hidden beneath centuries of history had already begun tightening its grip around the empire's future. As the days passed, King Vaelor grew increasingly secretive. He ordered ancient records destroyed and forbidden archives burned without explanation. Scholars who questioned his commands vanished without a trace. Fear slowly spread through the palace as servants whispered that the king was speaking to invisible advisors late into the night. Lord Merik, Vaelor's most trusted friend and counselor, began investigating the strange behavior. Deep within forgotten records, he uncovered a horrifying legend tied to the royal crown. Long ago, an ancient ruler had forged a pact with a monstrous entity known as the Hollow Sovereign, a being trapped between worlds. According to the legend, the crown carried the creature's voice, waiting patiently for another king to listen. By the time Merik discovered the truth, Vaelor was already falling under its influence. Soon, the capital itself became infected by fear. Residents reported hearing distant screams beneath the streets after sunset. Entire families disappeared from locked homes without signs of struggle. Patrols sent into underground tunnels never returned. Determined to uncover the truth, Princess Elira and Captain Renn descended into the darkness below the city. What they found was beyond imagination. Hidden beneath the empire's greatest city stood walls lined with human faces trapped inside black stone. The missing citizens were alive, their eyes filled with terror as dark liquid streamed down their cheeks. The tunnels echoed with a voice so ancient and unnatural that neither could identify where it came from. It promised that the empire would soon belong to the dead. From that moment forward, Elira knew the kingdom was facing something far worse than rebellion or war. Without warning, Vaelor unleashed his most devastating decree. Temples were closed, sacred relics were destroyed, and every symbol of faith was erased from the empire. That same night, a storm unlike anything in recorded history covered the sky. Black ash fell endlessly from the heavens, turning streets and rooftops grey. Strange pale figures emerged from the darkness, drifting silently through walls and locked doors. Entire neighborhoods vanished before sunrise. Survivors spoke of hearing screams from distant rooms moments before their loved ones disappeared forever. The empire's greatest cities became silent wastelands overnight. Fear consumed every remaining citizen as rumors spread that death itself had entered the kingdom. As chaos spread, Captain Renn attempted to organize resistance among the surviving soldiers. Yet the true horror revealed itself when scouts returned from the outskirts of the capital. The missing citizens had returned, but they were no longer human. Thousands marched in perfect silence through ruined roads and abandoned villages. Their skin was gray and lifeless, their eyes completely black, and their movements unnaturally synchronized. At the front of the endless procession stood King Vaelor. The crown upon his head glowed with an eerie light while the undead followed every step he took. Entire towns disappeared beneath the march of the Hollow Army. No walls could stop them. No army could slow them. The empire that had taken centuries to build began collapsing in a single night. While the dead conquered the surface, Princess Elira, Lord Merik, and Captain Renn searched desperately for answers. Hidden beneath the palace, they discovered a forgotten chamber older than the empire itself. At its center stood an enormous stone door bound by ancient chains. Strange symbols covered every inch of its surface. The writings revealed a terrifying truth. The Hollow Sovereign had never fully entered the world. Instead, it existed beyond the sealed doorway, influencing rulers through the crown. Every century it sought a new vessel capable of breaking the barrier completely. Vaelor had unknowingly become that vessel. The chains binding the door were already beginning to crack. If the seal failed entirely, the creature would enter the world and transform every living soul into part of its endless kingdom of death. With the Empire burning around them, the final confrontation unfolded within the throne room. Princess Elira, Lord Merik, and Captain Renn stood before King Vaelor as darkness consumed the palace. The king barely resembled the man he once was. Black cracks spread across his pale skin while countless whispers emerged from his mouth simultaneously. Yet somewhere beneath the corruption, Vaelor still remained. Merik begged his friend to fight back against the creature controlling him. For one brief moment, the king regained control. Horror filled his eyes as he realized the destruction he had caused. Knowing there was only one way to stop the nightmare, he removed the crown and ordered it destroyed. But the Hollow Sovereign refused to surrender its vessel. Shadows erupted across the room, and Lord Merik paid the ultimate price as the darkness struck him down before the crown finally shattered. The destruction of the crown unleashed a catastrophe that shook the entire empire. The palace collapsed as ancient forces battled beneath its foundations. Deep underground, the massive stone door began sealing itself once again. King Vaelor used the last of his remaining strength to hold the Hollow Sovereign back while Princess Elira and Captain Renn escaped. A terrible roar echoed across the empire as darkness swallowed both king and monster together. Then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the nightmare ended. The undead army crumbled into dust. The whispers vanished. The black storm disappeared from the sky. Yet victory came at a terrible cost. The once glorious Empire of Edrath lay in ruins. Entire cities were abandoned, millions were gone, and the world would never fully recover from the horrors of that single night. Years later, Queen Elira rebuilt what remained of the kingdom, but she never forgot the price paid to save the world. On quiet nights, when the wind howled through the ruins of forgotten places, she sometimes thought she could still hear faint whispers rising from deep beneath the earth, patiently waiting for another crown, another king, and another chance to destroy an empire overnight.